7 HR challenges in the manufacturing industry and some of the ways we could tackle them. Number 3 is injury and safety. Injury and safety incidents. Now, the truth is that every production business or every manufacturing business has injuries or safety issues that are peculiar to every one of them. Now, as the owner of a manufacturing industry, you must understand the health and safety or generally the hazards that come with your type of business. You must understand the hazards that come with your type of business and have preventive measures. Beyond or aside the safety policies and the safety matter and everything, you must be very intentional about creating safety measures for your team, preventive measures, and then ways that you could actually mitigate the extent of injuries in the manufacturing industry. So, one of the ways that you could, or some of the measures that you can put in place is ventilation. Anybody who has a manufacturing industry or a production business has to pay attention to ventilation. There has to be air. Pay attention to ventilation, and then the clothing of your staff. There's a type of clothing that people in certain industries should not wear in the production floor or in the factory floor. So ventilation and then the clothing of your staff is very, very important. Now, I remember when NSITF came to carry out the training when I was working in the manufacturing industry. So the males were very particular about the clothing that covered their body, especially their groin area. So they're very particular about having thick clothing, covering their groin area because of the heat coming out from the machine, which could cause infertility. So clothing is very important, or the type of thing that your staff are going to wear is very important. Now, another thing you could do to mitigate the extent of risk of damage or of threat or whatever it is by having fire extinguishers. Now, I remember when I was working in manufacturing, we used to work on this. I worked in a foam pack company or what I would call a plastic manufacturing industry. So we had fire extinguishers. We didn't have less than 30 fire extinguishers. Aside having fire extinguishers, we also had drums of water around the factory area where we would pour in detergent. So we had over 30 fire extinguishers across the whole company. But in the factory area, we had about 30 fire extinguishers. We had big drums of water that had detergent inside. And then you could also think of water hydrants. So think of the things that you need to do to minimize the extent of damage. Now, there are some manufacturing industries that are so high risk that you don't need to do anything for fire to start. An example is the plastic manufacturing industry. You know those places that you use in selling bins and things like that. You know those disposable places selling bins. You see that particular product is highly flammable. You don't even need to do anything for that thing to light up. During dry season, especially, during dry season, during Harmattan, it's very fireproof. Sometimes people just be in the factory and they just hear the product just lights up. You start running helter skelter, fire extinguisher, everything. So you have to have ways to mitigate these things. It is so high risk. It is so high risk that I've seen employees lose their hands. I've seen machine cut off hands, and then you have to warn your team not to have that over familiarity with machines. Very, very important. Another thing you need to do is insurance. You must insure your business and you must have insurance for the staff. NSITF does that in Nigeria. You must have insurance, NSITF for your team. Trust me, you do not want to have you don't want to experience a situation whereby an employee gets, because most of the injuries that happen in manufacturing industry result to death and permanent disability. You don't want to have a situation whereby an employee dies when there's permanent disability and then you start battling with family members and community people. So NSITF helps you to mitigate a lot of these issues. Do you understand? Number 4 I'm going to be talking about is retaining employees. The manufacturing industry as a whole has very high staff turnover. And it doesn't matter whether you do things wrong or you do things right. It just naturally has very high staff turnover. Especially when it has to do with factory workers, loaders, or food, or whatever you call them. It has very high staff turnover. Be nice, be good, whatever. But what you can do, you can come up with ways or you can do certain things to minimize the extent of staff turnover. Number one you can do is pay them well. You see unskilled labor, pay them well. And pay them on time. Pay them well and pay them on time. They cannot understand why their salary should be delayed into the next month or two to the next month. Pay them well and pay them on time. Number 2, be kind to them. Just have that culture and environment of kindness and ensure that their supervisors, line heads, or their managers are not mean or biased. So in the manufacturing industry, because the staff turnover is usually high when it comes to the unskilled labor, you must checkmate their managers. You must checkmate their supervisors. You must checkmate their firm, because usually those are the reasons why a lot of low-level employees will resign. If you check those times in the manufacturing industry, the reason why most employees will resign is because of their managers, it's because of their supervisors or departmental head. So you must keep an eye on your managers to ensure that they are not the reason why employees are resigning. You also have to create a system of transfer of knowledge. This is very important. We'll call it succession planning. Create a system of transfer of knowledge. So what I did when I was managing the manufacturing business was that as part of the KPIs for the managers or the supervisors or the foremen was that they are supposed to train those who are working under them to be able to carry out their job or to handle that manufacturing process from start to finish without supervision. So I will give them that is part of their KPIs for, let's say, within the next 3 to 6 months. So I remember when I sent when I was structuring I think it was an oil lubricant industry, under energy and under, I think it was under energy, I think it's energy industry or something like that. But it was a manufacturing company, and I sent the instruction with KPIs to the blender. And the part of the KPI was that he's supposed to train those working under him so that they'll be able to start the production process from start to finish without supervision. And the man called me. I was like, must he do this? I said yes. Because the truth is that most people who have that skill or knowledge in the manufacturing industry have come to understand that they like monopoly of knowledge. It gives them power, it just gives them power. So you have to find a way or come up with a tactics that ensure that they transfer knowledge. So what I will do is that as part of the KPI, as part of the performance appraisal process was that after 3 months, for confirmation of employment or for salary increment or for anything that is really good, we'll do a test. So I remember we'll do a test that say, okay, you come out, let your staff or let your people start the production process from start to finish, run it efficiently, wonderful output without your input. So the condition for salary increment was that a promotion is tied to that particular KPI. So if you own a manufacturing business or you're a manager in a manufacturing business or you're a HR officer or manager in a manufacturing business, you must create a system for transfer of knowledge. You must create a system of transfer for knowledge. Open a succession plan. It's compulsory. Otherwise, when people leave, there's a very huge vacuum within the system. I will see you soon in the next series. Stay tuned to my page. Have a lovely day.